Hey, what's up everybody? It's AJ with TRAX and we're doing a walk around of the brand new 2021 Yamaha Wolverine RMAX 1000. This is a brand new rig from Yamaha. This one is one of the first off the line, and I believe it's actually the first one that we have here in all of Canada. So we're excited to bring you the information on it. A little bit later on today, Luke and I are going to go out and beat on it together. There'll be a test ride in an upcoming episode, and then there's also going to be a cool feature story where Luke and I kind of battle it out head to head with this off-road. Anyways, the RMAX is all new for 2021, as I said, and some of the cool features of this vehicle is that Yamaha did something that they don't usually talk about doing, which is benchmarking a vehicle directly against a competitor, and that competitor was the Polaris General. In my opinion, if you're going to benchmark against a side-by-side when you're in this kind of rec sport category where it's both work and play, the General is the best vehicle to benchmark off of. Probably my favorite side-by-side of all time, and right now, I haven't ridden this, so this could actually peak that. It could crest that, and this could become my new favorite rig because they've done all kinds of cool things. Number one, right up front, tilting dump box. So this is still sporty. It's got great piggybacks, Fox IQS 3-way adjustable suspension, but it's usable because it's got a dump box on it. So it's not in the Razor category. It's in the general category. The Commander, which is Commander, is pretty much dead and gone. You know, the TRAX would be a competitor for this, but the TRAX is, you know, kind of a little bit older. It needs an update. It hasn't been updated for a long time. They called it a Wolverine, which is slightly confusing because this is very different from the Wolverine, but I guess it's in the same category. So this is the RMAX, whereas they still make the original Wolverine. It's gonna have a lot of the same bodywork and a lot of the same features, but this is the RMAX, which is gonna call it R for sportiness because Yamaha's sporty vehicles usually have an R in them, and Max is just that it's the maximum. So comes from the factory, 30-inch carnivores, really good tire package. That's something that we're not typically used to seeing on a Yamaha. We're used to seeing a very kind of mild and not as aggressive tire on their side-by-sides. This is really impressive, and it's 30-inch. Plus they went square on the whole setup, so they're 30x10 on all four corners. Really cool in my opinion. Square tire setups are the way to go in a vehicle like this. I just think it makes sense, and it's easy to get a replacement tire if you tear one up. Here in Canada, we got a lot of Canadian Shield, so we get a lot of pinch flats, and once you've ripped the sidewall apart, you got to get a new tire. So nice thing is you can have one spare, you can run it on the back in a spare tire carrier, and it'll go on any four corners, which is pretty nice in my opinion. Really sweet aluminum 14-inch rims. They did a really good job here, and Yamaha over the past like 4 or 5 years, honestly, have been blowing everybody else out of the water when it comes to their aluminum rims from the factory. They're so nice looking. You wouldn't upgrade them because they look just as good as aftermarket. So that's something that's cool in my opinion. What I was talking about was suspension. You can get IQS on this, which is the electronic adjustable suspension. This model is the XTR. It doesn't have it on it, but it does have Fox QS3. QS3 is a 3-way adjustable clicker. It gives you soft, medium, and firm. Super simple. You don't have to go through 18 clicks on each one and try to count them off and make sure you've got it all right if somebody, you know, got screwed with your suspension or did something. Really easy to understand, really easy to use, and they're really good quality shocks. Now they come from the snow side. That's where, you know, QS3 was first integrated into off-road vehicles, was on snowmobiles. Now we're bringing them over to ATVs, and I think it's a great setup, and it works, or sorry, over to side-by-side, and it works really good. It's a really good product. Easy to adjust. You can get your hand in there. You can do it with a glove. Even if it's muddy, you know that if you click it to the right, the dial's even indexed, so it's larger on one side, smaller on the other. You know where you're going, and you know from 1, 2, and 3. 1 is soft, 3 is firm, 2 is medium. Nice part about this rig, up front, they've got 14.2 inches of suspension travel, and out back it's 16.9. Like this is not a small travel vehicle. This is a fully equipped rig. Ground clearance is, they say best in category, so that means that it beats the General. And I'm really impressed with things like built-in rock sliders. You don't have to pay for those from the factory. These come and they're already there. That's pretty cool. Everybody else, you have to buy them. I kind of find that to be sort of some of the premium stuff that Yamaha's doing. The graphics and paint on this is like second to none. In person, this looks really, really good. Yamaha has stepped it up another level, although they have been doing really cool stuff with their graphics. Their SE package on their Grizzlies have looked amazing over the past couple of years. The burnt orange color was one of my favorites of all times. In fact, it probably is my favorite color of all time. This new green is kind of a tactical camo almost look color, but then it's got a bit of metal flake in it, so it's really nice, really vibrant, good looking rig. The interior of this thing, totally new, completely different. Yamaha went over the whole thing. I will say right away and right up front, I think that one of the biggest drawbacks, and I'll say, I won't say fails because this vehicle is really nice, but one of the biggest things I think is goofy, and I've seen other manufacturers do it as well. This line across here, you've got the box side that raises up, you have the front fender that continues to raise up, and then we've got this drop down. I understand that it's so you get better sight lines. The General has a door that comes almost clean across, and it's really good. It keeps your arm inside. You don't have to use the side bolster thing that I think is actually visually not great. It's kind of ugly. At the end of the day, if that's my biggest complaint, really it's not that big of a deal, but I do think this would look better with a full door that goes clean across. It just would look nicer, tidier, and it would look a little more sporty. With that said, not really a big deal. The doors open and close really nice. They're no longer those little kind of shorty doors that Yamaha's had on some of their side-by-sides that are kind of pointless and you don't know what they're there for. Really nice working mechanisms. They latch and close really well. It's kind of cool too on this one. The door actually hides the gas tank, like the filler. So it's not out in the open and not exposed, which is kind of nice. It's hidden under there, and it's less of an eyesore, and it makes both sides look very kind of cohesive and congruent. I like that. I think it's nice. Inside the actual rig itself, you'll notice a lot of stuff that's benchmarked off of Polaris. So see like the little rubber tray that drops in underneath the passenger handle pole? Like that's straight out of the General. You got all kinds of storage trays. You've got a great glove box under here. One of the cool things that Yamaha's stepped up and done too is soft touch points. So you'll notice the steering wheel, the top of the glove box, they're rubberized, kind of like your pickup truck is. You know, everything used to be plastic in pickup trucks, and then they went to, hey, people driving pickup trucks aren't just picking up lumber every day, so they need to make them more refined. Yamaha's done that, and it's instantly noticeable. Your elbow doesn't feel like it's pushing into hard plastic. It's nice and soft. When you grab the steering wheel, it feels like a good, like quality racing steering wheel. It feels nice in your hands. Seats. I've had a complaint of Yamaha's seats in the past. Some of their seats kind of look like somebody threw a plastic bag over them that says Yamaha on them on some of their older rigs. These ones are cut, sewn, and stitched, and they're super nice. They're really, really high end. They look good. They're very comfortable, and the quality is there. It's got like almost that fake carbon fiber insert in them. You know, even where Wolverine is stitched in, everything's got ribs and lines, and it's tucked, it's stitched, it's cut, it's nice. And even the stitching is in an accent color that matches the Wolverine logo. And so they've done a really good job with that. Other cool things on the interior, upfitting for switches. I can count right now. What do we got? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, at least 10 areas you can put switches in right away. And one of the nice parts on the Polarises, if you want to put a switch in, you've got to cut it out with a Dremel or with a saw and try to make sure you get it perfect. Yamaha just puts this cool little rubber plug in, and when you pull it out, your switch drops right in. You don't have to do any guesswork. Now that's just the little stuff that is kind of refinements that Yamaha and the Japanese always think about, is just those little things. How can we make this simpler? How can we make it easier? How can we make it tidier? I like that. That's a very cool feature. All of the other touch points and areas inside the cab are also really nice. Even the brake lever now has a little like kind of faux brush metal insert into it. The shift knob has brush metal inserts on it. All these little things that are making it much more refined and much more car-like inside. This is definitely a next level interior for Yamaha that we're not used to seeing. Now I'll go around to the other side. The model we have here is the XTR. So this is not the one that comes with the GPS and dash, but you need to know that if you buy the limited edition, it does come with the GPS in the dash, which is a really cool feature. And it also gives you all kinds of information about the vehicle itself. So it's not just the GPS built in, it's giving you live information about the ride itself. That's very Polaris-ish. When you talk about dynamics and things like that, you're talking pretty high-end stuff here. Now we have the XTR model, so XTR means it comes with cool bumpers, winch, you know, interior lighting. So inside of these little cup holders, or these little spaces inside, there's actually nice little blue illuminated lights. All of the switches are blue illuminated, and so is the gauge. If you go up to the premium, you get a factory stereo with it. You get the Fox IQS suspension, and it's got a toggle switch that goes from soft, medium to firm. You get the winch and all those things too, but this XTR package, you just don't get the electronic suspension, and you don't get the gauge in the dash. We do get a nice roof on it, we get a nice mirror, we get the bumpers like I said, we get a Warn 4,500 pound winch with an interior switch. That's all sweet. I'm happy with all that stuff. Now, keep in mind, no matter what Wolverine RMAX you get, you do get the QS3 shocks on all of them. You don't get the Carnivore 30-inch square tire setup on all of them. If you drop down to the base model, it comes with a 29-inch, I think it's a Dirt Commander, and Dirt Commanders are a really good tire too, so I'm not upset about that. But QS3 comes across the board on all of these vehicles, whether it's 2 or 4 seat, unless you go with the Limited, and then you get the IQS. The other thing that comes on all of them is your, it's called Yamaha YTTC, I think, Yamaha throttle control. And essentially it's a drive-by-wire system with a three-stage setting. Very similar to other manufacturers who have this kind of driver selectable input modes. Essentially what you're doing is if you're in sport mode, no matter how you touch the throttle, it's going to respond right away. So if you're bumping the gas with your foot, or you're going through jitter bumps and your foot's bouncing off the throttle, you're going to hear it going wham, 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 wham. If you put it in trail mode, it's going to level that out a little bit. So your inputs, your fast input of your foot and how you're responding to the vehicle, it's going to take the peaks off of those and the valleys and just kind of smooth things out a bit. Then if you go to crawl, it becomes very, very subtle, very mellow, and not jumpy at all. So if you're crawling on rocks and you're really in technical conditions, you put it in crawl, and this thing becomes a gentle giant. Very tame, very mellow, and very refined. And that's just to help you, through tight, tricky situations. But if you're working this thing and you're running around the yard, if you give it to a family member and they want to use it, you tell them, hey, just leave it in crawl and the thing will work, really smooth, really easy for you. And it's not jumpy. It's not all that 999 cc, parallel twin power going right to the ground. It kind of mellows everything out and just steps it back a little bit. So very nice, very seamless. And Yamaha's drive-by-wire system is probably the best in the industry. They've refined it. They've had it on snowmobiles and side-by-sides and all kinds of things, motorcycles and other stuff. They've done a really good job with it. It works very well, and it's not one of those ones where you're hitting the throttle and then 2 seconds later it responds. It's very seamless, very clean. So this still does come with, 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, Diff Lock. It's all done with a switch now. There's no button that you have to slide over or do anything like that. It's strictly just a toggle switch. You put it in 2, you put it in 4, you put it in 4-wheel Diff Lock. Now let's talk about the motor. So the motor on this is a whole new motor for Yamaha. It's a 999 parallel twin, and they claim that it's best in class horsepower. From everything I've heard about this, it's got a pretty stout motor and it's very happy. We're excited. There's all kinds of opportunity for Yamaha to use this motor in other vehicles, and because it's a parallel twin, means it's a small package, it's not a 3-cylinder. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but a parallel twin does fit in an ATV chassis. I know that because Polaris has done it, so maybe this thing will show up in an ATV, a 1000cc Grizzly. Tell you what, I know multiple people who've said they will drop everything they're doing, drop all their other brands, and go buy a Yamaha if they put a 1000cc in an ATV. So maybe that'll happen, maybe it won't. I'm not telling you it will. Interior, there's a few more cool things. Yamaha really focused on ergonomics of the driver and passenger, as well as shoulder and seatbelt comfort. They've got these cool straps that are adjustable, so you can move your shoulder strap up and down if you want, make it a little bit more comfortable. But then the actual adjustment of the seat is quite big. You can do a whole lot more with it, but the angles and the angles of your leg, where your feet are interacting with the pedals and how you're sitting, Yamaha's gone over a whole lot to make sure that it's comfortable, refined, and a lot better, a lot more driver and passenger oriented. The seats in this are still a little bit vertical. You do feel like you're sitting up a bit more, but that being said, it's not 100% pure sport. If you want pure sport, go YXZ. They're laid back, it's performance, it's sporty. That's what it's all about. So I'm not against that. I think if the door was up a little higher, I wouldn't feel so high up and exposed. You do feel a little bit that way. So I think that drop down on the door, it gives you great sight lines and you can see what you're doing, but you don't necessarily get that kind of drop down in the cockpit feel. Is that a bad thing? Not really. It's just the way Yamaha went about it. Moving around on it, I mean, that's pretty in depth, I think. You get the idea. I mean, basic things like a 2-inch hitch receiver, yeah, it's got it. Tilting dump box, yeah, it's got it. The inside of the dump box is very usable, very deep. Really, this is a punch right to the face of the Polaris General. And the Polaris General hasn't seen updates for quite a while. It's been very similar for many years. So Yamaha, I mean, after today, after I test this thing and take it out and really put it through its paces, we're gonna know just how close Yamaha's got to the General and if they've actually surpassed it. And honestly, with the look of this vehicle, you know, the new accent lights, they've got all kinds of cool refined accent lighting and then really nice headlights up front. With everything they've done here, it's a great vehicle. High arched A-arms up front, class leading ground clearance, and even some small stuff that I wanted to mention too that's just interesting. It's got these huge rings up front, like it's almost like a D-ring holder up front. That's where I latched down when I towed this thing or tied it down on the trailer. And it's just small little things like that make a whole lot of sense. And leave it to Yamaha to come up with those great little ideas and those great little things that just, you go, oh, hey, this works for tie-down straps. And is it meant for that? I'm not 100% certain, but it works for it and I like it. So yeah, we're stoked to take this thing out. We're gonna give you guys a full run through on Dirt Trax. You're gonna see it online in the next coming weeks. We're gonna do a full test ride on it. And then we're also, like I said, Luke and I are gonna go head to head. We're actually filming it today. So you're gonna see that in the upcoming episodes. Luke and I together in the vehicle at the same time, switching out driver to passenger. I don't know how that's gonna go. I might have to beat him up, but steal the keys or something. But it's gonna be fun. We're gonna have a blast, and we're really gonna put this new RMAX to the test. XTR RMAX 2021. Hope you guys enjoy the walk around, and yeah, keep looking for more Dirt Trax stuff coming up. We're doing lots, and we're excited to bring it to you guys. And go check out Yamaha's website if you want the exact detailed specs. That's going to be in the test ride as well, but for right now you can check that out if you need more information and want to find out what packages are available.
If you enjoyed this segment, make sure you hit that like button and definitely consider leaving us some comments. We always appreciate hearing from our fans. Also, make sure you're subscribed because we have tons of new content coming up right here on Dirt Trax.